Black Cat Crafts, the channel that helps you personalize your Halloween village. Today we're going to make 3 sets of trees out of one floral pick. So this is a budget project, folks. It cost me about $8 plus some additional supplies I had around the house. I grabbed some other floral odds and ends, staghorn moss, a random skull, some rocks from my yard, some cardboard that I recycled, and some washers that I grabbed out of my hardware area. So, again, very, very budget-friendly project. The first tree I did was one single leafless tree. I really struggle with some of the store-bought trees because I find them a little boring. Some of them are too small for what I really want. So this is great because you can make it exactly the way you like it. This particular floral pick had a number of branches coming off that were almost the perfect size. And this instance is a perfect example of that. I simply cut off the bottommost branch from the floral pick. It's actually really thick wire, cutting through the plastic as well. And then from there, we'll work to attach it. So it looks great already. It needed just a little bit of bending adjustment to get the branches where I wanted it. And now I have already hot glued a heavy metal washer to a smaller piece of thin cardboard. The washer is important for stability, especially if your layout has uneven ground. Maybe there's some rocky terrain. Mine has some other moss on it already, and that will help it keep it upright, keep it neat looking. At this point, you'll want to attach your decorations. So I put a little bit of glue down, and I'm going to use the green staghorn moss. I got that from the dollar store, and I'll attach it all around. If you're noticing some of the pieces behind it, those are 2 custom projects I did in other videos. So check out my channel to learn how to make a custom sign that says pumpkin patch, pumpkin, not pumpkin. And then the daisy, the man-eating daisies. Those are inspired by Little Shop of Horrors, Audrey 2, but made them a little cutesier. They're actually easier than they look. They don't take a lot of real amazing artistic ability. It's mostly technique, and if you can roll a ball and break a few toothpicks, you too can make the daisy Audrey 2s. So back to the project, you see there I have attached a rock and more staghorn moss to the project. The rocks are also very helpful for stability. Again, if you're not using perfectly flat surfaces, it can be helpful. And finished. It looks just right. It is the height I wanted. I added a little skull and then moved on to my next project, a copse, not corpse, of trees. So copse, if you're not familiar with it, is an expression for a group of trees, sometimes on a hill. I started off the same way as the other project. Piece of cardboard, glued a heavy washer to it, and then attached the trees with hot glue. As you can see, I skipped ahead to that for the purpose of this video, since you just saw me do the essential elements of this project a little earlier on. Now for the fun part. Let's decorate it. Just like before, I added the staghorn moss, and I grabbed a floral pick I had from a different project. These I thought were just perfect. They kind of reminded me of tumbleweeds, but because of the way the plastic is designed, they can actually be cut to form smaller plants, little fans of grass. They can even be ripped apart at that size too. Again, just give a little bit more variety and take one basic element and turn it into additional for visual interest, but also is really nice on the budget to take one element and make it visually impactful by having it appear different by what you do to it. So now let's attach again some other elements. This one is a more top-heavy project because I have a lot of the branches leaning over the edges. So I decided to add a much larger rock than before to this project, along with the washer and the overall square centimeters of the cardboard help keep it stable. Now adding the tumbleweed grass element that I had that we cut up earlier. Doesn't that look nice? Little bits of grass poking up here and there. It gives it just that extra wow factor. If you view your Halloween village from 3 or 4 sides, you'll want to make sure that all sides of these projects are decorated to maintain visual interest and also cohesiveness. Tree number 2 is done. The copse of trees looks fantastic, and it's great next to any of your pieces, not just Grimsley's greenhouse or another plant theme, but really that could go anywhere. I'm showing you for size next to a Spooky Town tree. But let's move on. Let's talk about the tall tree with the orange leaves. So we're going to do the same process as before with the washer, the rock, the staghorn moss, and of course that's the remainder, the top of the one floral pick that I used to make all 3 of these tree sets. So once I finish decorating, I'm going to get some paper and a cutting machine and cut it. Now you may be thinking that paper is pattern, that's going to end up looking weird. These leaves end up being so small that you really can't see the pattern at all, and it adds a little bit of variety that I liked. So as you can see, I used the machine to cut the leaves. I cut leaves in 2 different sizes. I really don't like the store-bought mass-made trees. They all have the same size leaves, and to me it looks weird, but I also am into gardening, so the leaves being so large is something I just notice and I find very off-putting. So that was the method behind this, is using smaller leaves at the ends of the branches where Mother Nature has smaller leaves in most cases as well, with the larger leaves inward, where again, in most instances on most trees, you'll see bigger leaves. They're different colors. That's a more natural look as well. When you see the store-bought trees, you see them all with the same color leaves, all with the same size. Boring! This is much more interesting. I am using a tweezers to help control it, and the glue that I'm using is an epoxy glue. It's really stinky, actually, but I really wanted to find something that would hold the paper leaves to the plastic trees effectively, and I didn't think a white glue was up to the task. It also doesn't dry as quickly as this is a fast dry epoxy. In fact, I was having trouble with it drying too fast. I was only getting a handful of leaves in before it dried, and I had to remix. Tree number 3 is done. My vision for this one was a tree with a handful of leaves on it. I didn't want it to be one of those beautiful full fall trees covered in leaves. This is more of an end of fall look where the majority have blown away or been rained on and fallen on the ground. It adds a nice variety to the village as well. And here it is, next to the gate as well as the church. So all 3 trees came from one floral pick, super inexpensive project. If you like this project, check out my channel. I hope you'll subscribe and share it with anyone in your circle who is also really into miniatures and Halloween villages. Thanks for stopping by.